Hello, hello, and welcome back to the More Than Mindset Show. I am your host, Kim Guillory, and I have a special guest for you today. Her name is Meg, and we are talking about six-figure earners, six-figure entrepreneurs, coaches, massage therapists, healing-focused entrepreneurs, how to get there and maintain it without losing everything else. Welcome, Meg.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be.
All the way from Chicago.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So Meg came to me a few years ago, probably about three. I guess you started 3 years ago. When did
Yeah, I'd say 3 years is when I finally paid to get in the door, but probably following you for a little bit before that.
That's funny. That's actually a great way to lead into this because I do want to talk about trust and relationships and also getting what you need from a program, not just trusting and throwing your money at things.
Mm.
And I want to talk about the real truth about six figures and what does that feel like and what happens month after month. Because I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. Is it just like getting there and then you're guaranteed that forever?
No, no, not at all. I got there and now I'm like, ooh, because I want more, of course. Now I want something even more. And I'm like, ooh, what's it going to take to get that? And knowing what I had to do to get where I am now.
So
So it's exciting, but yeah, at some point in time, it's like, ooh, okay.
what would you say before getting there? What would you say you thought it would look like?
The path, or once I had
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, your life. You're like, all right, six figures, $100,000 and more. I'm gonna have this. My life is gonna look different in this way. Like, what did you think was gonna look different?
Mm, yeah, I think I did think it was just going to be a lot easier. Like, I'm going to make 6 figures, I'm gonna make 150K, and then everything's just going to be like simple, like I'll have what I need and it'll just be simple. And I thought I would also be satisfied. I thought I'd be like, I made it to 150K, like awesome, good. But that's no.
Simple and satisfied. And I don't want to take that away.
Hmm.
And satisfied. Because I think when you're in the coaching space, there's a lot of seven figure, thrown at you, and you don't think you're doing anything. And you kind of like people skip over the six figure.
Hmm.
But most people where I come from, where I live, most people do not make six figures.
Right. Hmm. Hmm.
It's kind of ridiculous to think that. Like, because do you work nights and weekends?
No.
No. Do you see what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you thought it was going to be just like simple, natural, like, oh, I'm at 150, I get to do anything I want. I have all the money. Clients come to me easily and effortlessly, and that's it. Like I'm not greedy. I don't want more than that.
I'm done. Yeah. Totally, completely satisfied. Like, yeah, it's funny that I say that because I never think I'm done. I don't think anyone's ever done, but I thought I would have attained something and that I wouldn't necessarily need to go any further. I hadn't thought of what was beyond that, I guess.
Hey, I remember my impossible goal. I wanted 100 people to pay me $250,000 a month for
Mhm.
coaching and to help grow their business, change their life, lose weight, whatever. But I was going to have this membership. I was going to have 100 people in there, $250,000 done. Good. That's it. That's all I want. I really, really, really thought that.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, that is like almost ridiculous to want that much money. And I remember getting coached when I had hit an $85,000 month. And I remember my coach saying, "You think that's a lot of money?" I'm like, yeah, more than my husband made last year. Like, yeah, it's a lot of money. She was like, oh, interesting. And it just planted a seed
Mhm.
because I had to confront what had I done to do that and how much more did I have in me? What else could I have done?
Yeah.
And then I had to battle all the shameful thoughts about being greedy and not being godlike and all the people who were suffering. And I had a lot of limiting beliefs around money to work through. What about you in Chicago? Did you guys experience the same?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the city of Chicago, on the Southwest side. And that's not, I mean, that's a lot of blue collar workers. They make a good salary and they have great pensions and they have great benefits, which is why they do it. Um, and there is all this like people, they think they're so much better, right? Like people that have money, they think they're so much better than you. They think like, yeah, they are so greedy. They think that they're, yeah, that's really the biggest one. Like, who do they think they are? That's a constant thing in the back of my head. Like with money or with having nicer things, going places, like, who does she think she is? I remember when I was going to buy a car after I was divorced and I was going to buy a nicer car. And the voice actually said, like, who do you think you are to have that car? And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
It was loud, huh?
Yeah. And so, like, battling those voices from the past of like leaving the neighborhood, leaving that environment, and becoming something very different. I was afraid at first, even to put myself online to see what people like, what would people think of me? Would they think that I was like this hoity-toity, conceited person? And it definitely prevented me from starting out. And oddly enough, some of those people have reached out to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm battling this with myself right now, looking at an apartment in Miami, and I'm
Mm,
like, okay, so this one is like I could be a roommate, rent one room. I can do a one room apartment on the beach, but it doesn't have beach view. And the other one is a penthouse in the area that I really want to be in, that's on the water, but not the beach, that has
mhm.
walking areas, amenities, pickleball. And I am watching, I have not taken any action because I am watching all of these thoughts that I have about this and about this settling. And I started looking through filters to make decisions because you can't really trust anyone else to make decisions for you, right? Because
Mm-mm.
they come with those thoughts. Your people in
Mhm.
your environment are part of what plants those beliefs and thoughts.
Yeah.
And when I sit in these rooms where that's a no-brainer for someone else, or like I told my husband, I was like, like the kids work offshore, they leave for 2 weeks. Like, why is that okay, but it's not okay? You like in my mind, why is it not okay for me? Or why is it not like, oh, you should live where your husband is, you should live with your kids, or you should not do that? I was like, who's this should master? Like, who is saying this? You know,
Yeah,
like
precisely.
so it's really interesting. And we'll go back to like, because you're coming from massage therapy, you're a massage therapist,
Mhm.
and you are now bringing coaching to your massage therapy clients, but also going online. So it's a whole another world for you. And that's really who this podcast is for, is mind, body, energy workers who have been hands-on, but want to expand their business. How do you do it? They're like, they really don't understand. Did you understand what I was doing whenever you first came in?
No, and I was super resistant to it. I was like, I cannot tell my massage clients that I'm a coach all of a sudden. Like, what will they think of me? They'll think I don't know. Like, again, like battling those beliefs. How does she know what she's doing? How did all of a sudden she become that? I also had this thought, like, would they think I was failing as a massage therapist now that I'm becoming a coach? Like, I had so many thoughts about it that were preventing me from even just telling them what I was doing. But that turned out to be the secret sauce. That was the gold.
So, how is your life different since you are earning six figures, and how does it feel to like, because you're going to go for multiple six figures this year?
Mhm.
How does that, how is that battlefield? Number one, you integrating into a six-figure earner, which congratulations for a woman, for a massage therapist, for an entrepreneur. Hell yeah, we need more of this.
Thank you.
And number
Let's
two,
go.
to do this multiple times year after year in multiple six figures, what does that feel like and how far is it? So whichever one you want to tackle first.
I think that I am still in a little bit of disbelief. Like I try to celebrate it all the time because it's like if I don't take the moment to celebrate that it actually happened, it's just like you said, like the six figures, you just kind of like pass over it. But there's something to actually embodying that version of me that did it. And like, what did I have to do? What did I actually do? And being super proud of myself for staying in the game when I didn't want to, when it would have been easy to just let my mind tell me all the reasons to just be quiet, to not talk about it, to not go for it, to just go into all those comfy habits of I'll just massage more. I'll just stay in bed. I just won't go to the gym. The daily things that it took,
Mm.
looking back, the daily habits that I had to create for myself to be disciplined enough to show myself that I could do the simple things so that then I could do the progressively more difficult, challenging things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the other thing is like for those who are listening and you're like, my God, how much do you need to make? Or, why it's got to be so much? It's because we're teaching about wealth creation. So you cannot work yourself to wealth. That is literally impossible. And so what I'm teaching my clients is to get them to six figures and beyond. And then we're investing in multifamily real estate together. And so that's why once you start planting that seed and you start putting money into something that's going to grow for you, then one day that's going to actually earn more money than you can earn with your hands and time. And so I just kind of want to talk about how much did that incentivize you to want more, knowing
That was a
where it was going to go.
Yes, that was a huge factor in, especially after like the second half of the year. I was like, holy cow, now I do have all this money. I am earning all this money. What have I been doing with my money? So it made me stop and take a look at how I had been spending my money and that I wasn't being as intentional as I could be with it. And once I did that, I saved $10,000. $10,000 in less than 6 months in order to do what you just talked about, which is I know that I'm not going to be a massage therapist or a coach like till I'm 95, right? Like I want my money to be making money.
Yeah.
How can I do that? I have to be much more intentional with what I'm doing with it, where I'm putting it, and how my money's making money. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted.
I'm like, send my money out to bring friends back. Like, go play, go make some friends, go have some babies. And then come back.
Absolutely.
I have a check sitting on my desk right now that came in from real estate that I just happened to be opening my mail today. And it's so cool because I'm looking at the van, like my Sprinter van, is it Sprinter van, that I'm actually paying out because I made a mistake on that, like my investment on how I did that. I didn't realize my goal this year is to raise my financial IQ. So the way that I bought that is actually me paying out, and it is taking more than I'm paying out. But this I actually paid out one time, and it will never stop paying me for life.
Mm-hmm.
For life.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take that money that it's paying you, and then you go buy the Sprinter. I didn't know that when I did this. So it's a different scenario. And that's kind of like when I'm saying setting your target. So of course your target would be $170,000 until you saw how
Exactly.
much more? 300,000, five hundred
Yeah,
thousand, a
that's
million?
my
Like
goal this year.
until you saw what 100,000 invested could do for you, until you saw
Exactly.
what a million invested could do for you. It's not about greed and it's not about numbers. The thing is, we all have the potential to offer that much value to the world that we will be able to receive that if we are worthy of receiving it, if we
Mm-hmm.
have the ability to hold on to it. It's not just about making money. It's not just earning. Can you keep it and multiply it and protect it? Because if you
Yeah,
don't, half of it, 40% of it's going to taxes.
absolutely. And learning that this year for myself also helped me to see how I want to teach my children differently because I wasn't taught these types of things, right? It's just like I said, you're a blue collar worker, you work, you get a pension, you retire, you live off your pension, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not one of those people. I'm not doing that. So I can't rely on that, right? I need to know where is my money going to come from in the future. And it just changed the way I see everything, the way I see myself, the way I see the world, the way I see money, everything, the way I see my job.
So let's get into the fun part. After
Mhm.
you made your first 10, $20,000 month and
Mhm.
then the first of the next month came around, what was your
Mhm.
thought?
I was always like, oh, what's gonna happen this month? How am I gonna do it? How am I gonna do it? But I think that changed in terms of prior to last year. I think it would have been like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll never be able to do that again. Like that was a total fluke. That was, the question changed to how, not will, not will it happen, but how? How's it going to happen? Which opens my mind to different ways, different avenues.
Hmm. And what about the end of the year? When you're in disbelief that you even did it, how do you set yourself on path to start doing it again? Like, what did you tell you? What's your mindset behind that?
Mm,
What's driving you?
that's such a good question. And I want to say that it's like, I want more than ever. Now that I know that it's possible, I want to surpass that. I want to surpass anything that I ever even dreamed was possible because, you know, like in my little notebook, in my journal at night and in the morning, it's like I never dreamed that I would even be here, what I'm doing. And if this is possible, and I never knew that was possible, like what else is possible that I haven't even thought of yet, right? Like it,
Mm,
like you say, I don't know what I don't even know yet. And that gets me excited. Like, ooh, who am I going to meet this year? What other, who am I going to collaborate this year? What other opportunities are waiting for me? What other opportunities haven't I even thought of yet? And then it becomes exciting
yeah.
instead of daunting.
I think the problem is our goals are too small and we don't know how to envision and dream and go somewhere where we've never been and have never
Mm,
seen before. We
hmm
see it out there, but to actually be in a room with someone who's creating it and showing it, like it's different than
hmm
seeing it on social media, seeing it from an influencer. Wouldn't you think? Like that, there was something about that for me. Like I was like, wait a minute, I can do that.
hmm hmm Yeah, I think also when it's broken down into like 1 month, 1 month, like what having the math and the path that we talk about all the time was very helpful for me because having no goal, I can see where that gets me, like anywhere in life, right? Like having no goal on a Saturday, maybe I don't want to have a goal on a Saturday, but I can tell you that when I don't, I just get lost in this cloud, this haze of spinning, right? So same thing in business, same thing in my relationships, same thing, with my kids, even in my household. If there's no goal, I'm not headed anywhere. I'm just kind of,
Hmm. Lingering.
yeah, like moving around, doing a bunch of stuff, but there's no intention, just like the money. There's no intention behind it, right? Or there's no intention for where it's going. There's no intention for where I'm going. I'll just keep doing, but it won't yield me anything because I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah. The intentionality, the target,
Hmm
yeah, I could see that. So, how is it for like, so we're talking to massage therapists and practitioners that haven't integrated coaching in their practice yet.
hmm
And I'd kind of like to know what your clients first said before they understood what it was. Like you had to sell yourself first, of course, because you already said you're like, no way, they're not going to buy it. I can't do what you're doing. But there, you obviously have because you're doing coaching now.
Yeah.
So what has that experience been like from them being like, what is that? But
Mm.
like,
What I think has happened naturally. Okay, yes, I had to sell myself first, like what you said. I had to sell myself that I knew what I was doing, that coaching was valuable to them, that I was making this pivot, right? And it kind of happens naturally. And I would guess this might happen naturally for a lot of people like massage therapists listening, right? When people are on the table and they've been your client for a long time, they're naturally very open with you, a lot of times about what's happening in their lives. And so when I saw myself in the role of coach,
mm,
I saw how it was easy to talk about it then naturally with what was happening in their lives. Like I would refer like, well, my coach and I have talked about this, or I went through this with my coach too. And then it just opened the door for conversation for me to make an offer, but it didn't feel like selling, right? It was like, well, I'd love to work with you on that. I'd be happy. Do you want to do some coaching around that sometime? Do you want to try some coaching? Um, it just it became like a natural conversation, like just any relationship is, right? Just natural conversations as opposed to me feeling like I'm putting something on them or like, kind of wrangling them into something that isn't good for them. If we're already talking about this kind of thing, how can I help them further in their lives?
Interesting. I love what you said. When you say my coach and I, what my coach and I were, I think a lot of coaches miss this part. They don't talk about themselves getting coached. They don't talk about the value and the benefit. And I'm like, you're not going to sell me when you talk about you and your coach. You're going to sell your transformation that came through coaching, not the coach,
Hmm.
but coaching. And I
Right.
think I missed that. So I love that you got that because I believe it makes it so much easier. Like I just said, whenever my coach said 85,000 is a lot, like I did not sell my coach. I
Hmm.
sell coaching.
Yeah. Right. Right. Precisely. And I think that that is a mentality that I had a long time ago, which was if I tell them that I have a coach and they know that I'm getting all this benefit from this coach, that they're going to go to her
Yeah.
instead of buy from me. And I was like, woo, that's a major limiting belief on my part, you know. So cleaning all of that up was super essential. But I talk about it all the time. I talk about you, I talk about our business coaching, I talk about my personal coaching. Um, I talk about, I mean, that's how I'm getting people to come to the event too. Like, my coach is coming here. We're going to do this awesome event together. People are like,
Let's talk about the
okay,
event.
I
Because I
can't
was going to
wait.
say, what's next for you? Meg is like up for a challenge. She was
Hmm.
like, okay, let's keep growing. And so we're doing a live event together in Chicago. So that's an intention for me is to go out and meet my coaches and help them start creating and doing live events. And so we're doing this Mother's Day weekend. And I'd like to ask you because the name of it is How to Have It All, which is a super life, how to create a super life, because
Hmm.
we believe that that is what we have created, and all meaning all to you. Meg's
Yes.
all different from my all, but you can have it all, whatever all is to you. So, what is super life to you? How would you describe it?
Mm,
What is having it all?
um, freedom is absolutely having it all for me in terms of like freedom of choices. So having the money to have the freedom of choice, like if I want to go somewhere, if I want to take a vacation, if I need a new furnace, I don't feel like I am strapped or struggling or restricted. That's very important to me. And freedom in relationship in terms of actually owning who I am, actually speaking about what I want, what works for me, how we can make that work together. But it's about like more than ever this year, this idea of really, when you and I started working together, I was in this place, right, where I was like, I mean, that doesn't seem like a good relationship, what I was saying I wanted. And you were like, who's deciding that? Like, who are you letting decide what your relationship should be? And I was like, that's such a good question. And so this year, more than ever, I have decided what works for me, what I want in a relationship, and then having the courage to own that and then to express it, um, not just with my partner, but with my kids, with my mom, with my clients, and just it helps me show up in a whole new way. And that is a super life. That's absolutely a super life to me. So having a business, relationships, owning everything, right? Like taking my responsibility for everything that I want in my life and saying that I want it and then allowing myself to have it and then allowing everyone to see that I have it. Like, yeah, this is
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Because have you experienced where it's all work and then your health starts going down, your relationship's going, or it's all relationship and then your business starts going down, or it's like all health and then like not being able to juggle all of them at the same time? I don't love the word balance, you know that,
yeah,
but
me
it's
either.
like a juggling, and it's like when one exceeds, then you got to stop and go put out fires in the other. Like that's what I think the super life is how can all tides rise together? How we do anything is how we do everything, and contain without losing.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
is that something
I
that you and your clients experience with when
I
they're focused on their health, that something else is falling, or their husband or their wife is like, this is not working for
yes.
me, you're all about you, and,
I would say that a lot of it with my clients is their relationships. Like that's where they struggle the most. And even if it's not, even if they're not married, it might be like a best friend or a work relationship, but just some very intimate relationship in their lives. And it is such like it consumes all of them, right? So like the issue, the problem consumes them so much. And it's not then that they can't, so like they are excelling in work, or they are excelling, like their health is fantastic, but it's like, well, now what about this other thing? So yeah, how can we come together? How is it possible? What's the thing in the way that's preventing us that needs adjusting so that we can have all the pieces?
so what would you say to someone who's like, yeah, right, have it all?
I wonder why they don't think it's possible. I wonder why. I wonder what they do think. I wonder what they have experienced
I
that
think
tells
I
them
think that
otherwise.
yeah, I think they interpret have it all through what they see you have, and don't realize that you
Mhm.
have what you want. They can have what they want. We don't have to want the same thing. Like
Yeah.
that bio-individuality thing, like,
Hmm.
maybe you don't
Hmm.
want a relationship at all, and you're like, on that, I want to just make the money and have my health. And maybe those things, like the money's not interesting at all. You're just like, no, I'm just gonna like work out and love my body and love my person.
Hmm.
And that the rest doesn't matter. That's the part that I find is hardest to relate, is like, no, your all is your all.
Yeah.
Like, don't misinterpret my all for like, not everyone wants to have second or third apartment or house somewhere else. I
Hmm.
do,
Hmm.
because living in Louisiana and the limitations of my environments, like, but I don't want to live in the city and have all this traffic. That's why I don't want to live in the apartment on the beach. I want to go to the other one that is that has the rec center and the restaurant and the yachts and like a walking track. Like that's the having it all. When I look at one apartment, it's like, oh, it has the beach and
Hmm.
traffic and
Hmm.
a brand new grocery store across the street, and it's cheaper and it's a one bedroom. And then when I look at this other place, I was like, oh, they have it all. I have the washer and the dryer and the tub and the view, and like it's everything. So that's the all. What is all? We're so used to negotiating that there's almost some guilt like that we tag onto that.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. You bring up a very interesting point. Like when people are like, have it all, like, yeah, right. But I do think that is what they're doing, like that they're comparing or that they're looking at something else, like, well, what is all exactly? And like, I can't have what you have, or I don't want what you have, or why is that so important to you? But it goes back to what we were talking about just a little bit ago, which is having the courage to define what is important for you and then owning it. Like, yeah, fine. You don't want that. I do want $1 million. You're like, yeah, that's super important to me. But how can we, that's the thing that's getting in the way, right? The piece that's missing of why won't I be able to say that to someone? What's preventing me from owning, from having the courage to say
Well,
what I want?
well, for one, it's like, wait, you have a family, you have a husband and kids, and you want to leave? Like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, because that's
Hmm.
not what they would want. And there was a time where
Exactly.
I didn't either. But
Hmm.
right now, I'm looking at my age and the years I have left to be an influence on my grandchildren, because my husband's retired. So he has put in as much as he's going to put in. And so if anyone is going to be the example for my kids and grandkids, we don't have parents, grandparents, anybody above us.
Hmm.
I take that as a serious responsibility, for especially as a role model, is to be the example of what is possible, or I didn't live out my purpose. So it's okay that someone else was born with the silver spoon and they had generational wealth and someone showed them different and they had different. That's cool. I actually don't have that option. So my option's different.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm
Yeah.
okay with however I want to do my relationship. And I mean, I get people who do not understand this, do not understand this. They were like, you do what? And I wouldn't. I was like, listen, my kids and son-in-law work offshore and leave for 2 and 3 weeks at a time to go to work. I'm going to work on the water just like them. We're going to work on the water.
Mhm.
What's
Well, it's super interesting because a lot of times the feedback, or when I get that kind of feedback, from people like, wait, you guys don't live together? No. "Eh, Are you married? No, we don't think we'll probably ever get married." What? But I'm getting this feedback from people that they're not happy in their relationship. They're not satisfied. And I almost wonder if that is like, of course, there's some curiosity there too, right? Like, well, how can you do that? Like, how can you have it all in your relationship? You have to define it and you have to own
right?
it. Like, people are denying, denying all over the
Yeah.
place what they want.
Well, it's the inability to confront. Did you hear that big muffler behind me? It's it's Mardi Gras here, so there's so much traffic behind me and sirens, and it's the inability to confront so that they can't get the clarity, and that's the subconscious that is protecting. Because
Totally.
what if I actually go and do this? Will I lose my family? Will I lose my place here? Will I like all of those things, and all of those threats are coming up if I don't have the ability to confront and sit down and have a conversation with the people that I love, which is why I'm talking more and more and more about it. I'm talking about it more publicly. I have someone actually showing me apartments. I'm having the conversation with my kids. I'm having the conversation with my husband. And I'm just giving my perspective on it. I'm listening. I'm listening for their ability to confront it, to ask me questions, and to maybe feel unsafe or curious about it. Like, come on, mom, is this it? Are you leaving? Like, what's happening here? And yet I am so clear. And I think that's where people don't give themselves the confrontation to get the clarity. I'm so clear about what will be required for me to hit the next level of the success that I want to bring to my family for
Hmm.
generational wealth. And
Hmm.
so, and I've heard this, well, it's not all about the money. It's not about the money. Why aren't you just satisfied with this? Or where if you're doing it for the kids, why are you leaving the kids? I'm like, no, the kids left a long time ago. The kids
Right.
are self-reliant. I have 5 children, all self-reliant, all do extremely well for themselves, and their children do well. Like, so I want to influence my grandchildren. I've
Well,
already
there's
limited my children by my example.
Yeah, right. I hear what you're saying, and so did I, which I think is a part of why it's so important for me to do what I'm doing now, just to show them I was this and look what I became. Like, this is still possible. This is what is possible. Like, no matter where you start, there's always potential for
Mhm.
something more. You don't have to stay there.
No,
You
ever,
don't have to
never,
stay there.
never.
Hmm.
That's the hardest part. Is it's kind of like who grows with you will probably not scale with you.
Hmm.
And it's the environment that the upbringing probably is not where your growth is.
Right. Precisely. Absolutely. No, it can't be. Well, for me, it wasn't. There's no way. I couldn't stay that and become this or even what's next. But I had to be willing to like you said, confront those beliefs about what it meant if I left there, and confront what it would mean to be more, like confront my fears around what it would mean to be more.
It's really interesting because the fear is loss
Hmm.
of what you have, but you're already choosing to lose what you could have.
Totally. Exactly. Like, am I going to lose what I had, or am I going to lose what's possible?
Yeah.
Am I going, which one am I going to give up? What I
Yeah.
had that I'm saying I want to move beyond, or am I going to give up the potential
It's the
and the
hardest part.
opportunities?
Hardest part of the 4 steps. It's the hardest part. What am I going to give up? What am I going to lose? What am I going to hand over? What am I going to stop? Like, it's the hardest part.
And getting a grip on that through the coach training was essential for my growth this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's probably what I'll lead into, to just go ahead. So we've talked about what we're going to do next. I'll put some links. Meg is a relationship coach and also a massage therapist. So she does work online and in person. Let's talk about what would you say to someone like what, because I think coach certification, I don't people think people actually know what it is. They think like they're going to get some online courses and they're going to get this piece of paper. Just in your words, what was coach certification? What was coach training to you?
a completely new way of living life. First, an understanding of how I was living my life, and how that was preventing me from having everything I wanted or things that I wanted. And then being able to move beyond that. But I needed the tools. I had done a lot of certifications, like I'm a hypnotherapist, HMT, NLP, all of those things. And none of those things gave me the tools to live with. Does that make sense? Like they all gave me a modality or a technique, but none of them gave me a way to live my life in a way that would bring me in each moment the possibility to be who I want to be. And that's what the coach training gave me, a way to live, not just like a technique or a bunch of tools. Or, I mean, there are absolutely tools, there are absolutely, principles and learnings and teachings, but they're applied to life. They're a way to live. It's not like, okay, now we're going to sit down and send you into hypnosis. It's like a way to choose to live each moment. That's what it gave
Yeah,
me.
what I'm hearing, it's like title versus application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like how to apply this and get what I want
Mm-hmm.
so I can help others get what they want.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, first and foremost, it came through me. And then once I was able to do it, then I could see how I could transfer that information and knowledge to other people, or just like help them see it in themselves, really help them be the mirror.
Yeah. All right, Meg. Well, let's go hit some new targets.
I'm so excited. So excited for this year.
Yeah, I'm actually most excited by the thing that used to be the least exciting, which
Which is
is
what?
which is the changes and the partnerships and the collaborations that I am now like. I think there was a time where I didn't know what it was going to look like, so I tried a bunch of things and I for sure found out that's not what it should look like. And
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like I have the right partnerships and people and success stories. And it took more time than I thought. Would you say the same for you? Took a little more time than you thought to get where you got?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yes. It took more time. It took more,
Effort.
yeah, definitely effort. I hate to use that word because people are always like, it should be effortless. And I'm like, no, I
They
don't
do
know.
not have they do not have it if they think it's effortless.
I don't
So
know what you're
there's
talking about.
yeah, there's and then it's to again to the degree and the perception of the person that's talking about it. But I don't think effort's a bad thing. I think effort's a good thing. Effort feels
Yeah,
good.
me
Yeah,
too. Yeah, that's my tendency. That's how I prefer to work. I love working, actually. I don't think there's
me
anything
too.
wrong with it.
Me too. All right, my friend. I will see you on the other side.